Yeah, all right. I told you there's a special weather statement in effect for Niagara with lots of rain and wind and stuff. And here. And you didn't bring the umbrella for me. Jeez, you got one job. Like one job. I know. If it's cloudy on Monday, you can't see anything. I get it. All right. Yeah. Okay. I gotta go. Okay. Whew. Welcome to Season 5, Episode 8, Niagara 411 Live with Sterry. Yeah, we're going to try to get out of the rain in a hurry. We are fueled by Gales Gas Bars. We are supported by Virgin Insurance and Ace Alignment and Equal Wellness, powered by WeeStream. And boy, March might have gone out like a lamb, but April came in like a lion, huh? Woo! Okay, so we have, did you know we have an eclipse coming up? Oh, really? Yes. All right, so we're going to do a bunch of eclipse-style stuff today to try to bring you up to date with things that are happening. First of all, we have the Niagara Falls, basically we call it Eclipse Preparedness, Eclipse Events, and Eclipse Science. That's what we have going on today. Those are our one theme eclipse. We've got preparedness, we have events, and we have science coming up today, all on the program. So just hang around and we'll try to touch on everything that you might be interested in for Eclipse 2024. Back in 30 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Wow, have we got some moisture going on in and around Niagara today. Like I said, special weather statement in effect. The staff didn't even want to give me an umbrella. You know, sometimes they just throw you under the bus. You know. Anyway, glad to have you along for the ride. Now, I'll give you an idea about what's coming up on the program in a little bit more detail than I did off the top. But I guess the first thing we're going to talk about is the fact that we have some smoke out there. Kevin Jack, ladies and gentlemen, on the right-hand side of your screen, co-founder of WeeStreem, the executive producer of this here programming Niagara 411 Live with Sterry. And of course, we welcome the partnership, as always, with our pal Nick. Hi to Nick's mom. And there you go, Niagara 411, real-time traffic, crime, and information source. Now, there was a post that just went up before we went to air on Niagara 411, and it was somebody heading to Feulled, Erie, and I know Kevin has that somewhere.
Yeah, I was just highlighting there, Lee, that it's actually in the mentions section. And I don't know if people go there often enough on Niagara 411, but a mentions section is where anybody from the public can automatically post things on 411. So Here you go. Here's the Feulled, Erie bound.
Yeah. Now,
I guess Niagara Falls bound.
Now, okay, but no, you got to go down. I'm going down the Feulled, Erie. It's Fort. But that's okay. Do we know where the town got its name? It got its name because there's a fort there. Highway to Niagara Falls. Does anyone know why there's a fire? I don't know. Kevin, does anyone know why there's a fire?
I don't know. I mean, the firefighters might. They're on the scene. Looks like a bushfire there.
Yeah. On a rainy day. Shouldn't be too big a problem with the kind of precipitation that we have going on today. But anyway, that was from Rosa. Heading to Feulled, Erie.
Yeah, Feulled, Erie. And then the other, do you want to look at the other fire one? I mean,
why not? We've had a lot of them. Every time you go on Niagara 411, we've got house fires and kitchen fires and boat fires. And if anyone knows, there's a Cindy Halden was live. That's Is that the boat fire?
Yeah, that's the boat on fire.
Yeah.
So Nick had a post up on Niagara 411, but this was in mentions as Cindy was live.
And again, as Kevin says, sometimes it's not just the posts that pop up. You go to that mention section, and frankly, I don't. You can probably tell by looking at me that I am not the most astute social media Facebook dude on the planet, but I just don't get all of these different categories and why you just can't put something up in one spot. But there are mentions, and then there is the regular post scroll and all the other hoo-ha that goes on. And frankly, I don't know why we have both. I really don't. It's not a Niagara 411 thing. It's a Facebook thing. I don't know. Why? Why couldn't that go up Kevin, why couldn't that go up in a regular post as opposed to a mention? Why do we have mentions? Why do we, I'm feeling a little bit verklempt here, frankly.
Okay, so the reason why you have mentions is it allows people like you and me, just the lay people, to post something onto Niagara 411 as opposed to the actual post section, which is curated by Nick and his team. So you don't have access. Lee Sterry could not just post something onto Niagara 411.
But I can on the mentions?
You can on the mentions. Just the way that Cindy did here.
Thank you for clarifying that, and thank you, Cindy. You see, we learn something every single gosh darn week.
So people were wondering in the questions, like, why is this boat on fire? What's going on? And, we've had some mild weather, and he was firing it up, right? Firing it up for the season ahead. Maybe he forgot to put on the earmuffs.
Are you saying that's what happened, or are you just saying a maybe?
That's what they said in the comments.
That he started the engine of the boat in his driveway.
Yeah.
And it did this.
Yes.
Why would it do that?
I'm wondering whether or not he applied. Have you ever seen the earmuffs, like when you get a motor going? Because normally
when you get a what going?
When you get like an outboard or
a motor.
Yeah, when you get a boat motor going.
I thought you said something totally different.
So boats use the water to cool the engine.
Yes.
So whenever you fire it up on land, you have to attach those earmuffs to it and to a hose because it's going to suck the water in from there.
Who are you calling a hose?
Yeah. So maybe he forgot to do that, and
right.
I think the engine would overheat pretty quick.
Oops.
But that was a pretty involved fire.
I guess so. I hope you have insurance on your boat. A lot of people don't insure boats because the premiums are often high on boats and recreation craft and things like that. Oof, that's nasty. That boat's not floating anywhere this year. Holy cow. By the way, we're going to get into the eclipse thing. As I mentioned outside, I wasn't outside for very long, thank goodness, because we've got this rain thing going on. And this is probably our last gasp at a pretty crappy week before you can actually kick into spring. We've had spring weather in the winter. We got winter weather in the spring. Nobody knows what's going on. But climate change isn't real. We know that. Sarcasm? Tongue in cheek? All right, the last eclipse that we experienced on this planet, the last total eclipse, was all the way back in August of 2017. Now, I did my research. I do a little bit of homework sometimes. Now, of course, the next one is April the 8th, 2024, and oh, look, that's Monday. Well, we have a kind of an eclipse-filled program for you today. We have preparedness with Fire Chief Joe Zambito. We have events with Niagara Falls Tourism and Janice Thomson. And we have science with our pal Scott Sutherland of the Weather Network, meteorologist and science writer with the Weather Network. And wow, this is an event that will be really interesting, Kevin, to look back on. It's very interesting to look forward to, but it'll be almost more interesting to look back on. Are our preparations extreme? Are we making much ado out of nothing? Or are we not even touching the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what it's going to be like to experience that here in Niagara? Because we are on the critical path of the center of this thing. What do they call it, Kevin? The path of totality. The path of totality. Okay. Be still, Luke Skywalker. Okay, the path of totality. We're right there. And we didn't know all this stuff back in August 2017. a lot can happen in 7 years scientifically so that people are more prepared. I can't believe the amount of preparation that has been going on for this. And frankly, at one point, I have to be perfectly honest, there are those people I know in positions of influence in Niagara that think it was a little over the top to do what is happening. But then again, Kevin, I think if we did not go through these preparations, if we did not do the critical thinking related to this, and something catastrophic or something unheralded happened, there would be no end of armchair quarterbacks the next day saying, why weren't you people ready? Why didn't you get this thing put together? You had years to prepare for this. What are you thinking? And at the end of the day, I've kind of changed my position on it. At first I thought, oh my God, we're making just such a big deal out of this. And now I'm thinking, well, maybe we should make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see all the stuff that Joe and his staff have in place. I mean, you just think about it, Lee. If we really are going to expect upwards of 1 million people, I don't know if we're going to get to that number.
We don't know.
But imagine just somebody in the middle of that crowd with a medical emergency. Somebody has a heart attack. They're having a stroke. How do you get...
Or some joker decides to do some sort of crazy, mass, violent...
Do something stupid.
Thing, yeah.
Right, so how do you actually navigate that with the crush of people that are going to be down there?
Yeah,
so I've heard, and we can confirm with Joe, but I've heard, for example, the convention center in Niagara Falls is completely set aside as like, I want to say an emergency hospital, an emergency medical center. Because it's
Maybe
proximate,
so.
It's nice and close. But yeah, they've rented out the whole place and said, we might need this.
It was a big story last week when it was announced that as an initiative that came out of the regional chair, Jim Bradley's office, that the Niagara region had declared a state of emergency for the region of Niagara as relative to the eclipse coming up on Monday. A lot of us, as I mentioned before, kind of scoffed at it. But it might not be scoff-worthy. So it's going to be interesting to talk to Niagara Falls Fire Chief Joe Zambito about what that means. What does a state of emergency mean? And there have been a lot of those conversations since that happened amongst people like myself and my friends and our associates and all the rest of it. Okay, now, the minute you kick in a state of emergency in Niagara, what happens? It's like flipping a switch. When you turn a switch on, a light comes on, or an appliance starts, or your coffee maker goes on, or whatever. But what happens when that state of emergency switch is flipped in Niagara? What kicks into action? And the fellow that knows all that stuff is our fire chief. So in preparation for this event, these are the things you see all over the place. Plan ahead and prepare for potential crowds and traffic. Fill up on gas. Grab your groceries ahead of time. I mean, this is like an invasion. Get ISO certified Eclipse glasses in advance. Check travel conditions and road closures. Plan for childcare on the 8th as schools are going to be closed. Make sure your kids know how to view the eclipse safely. And da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I even saw, Kevin, online a little while ago, the fact of going back to when I was a kid in high school, people teaching you how to make a pinhole viewer out of a shoebox.
Gosh, yeah,
remember that?
Me back. Absolutely.
Yeah, I even saw that pop up on Facebook. So there are a lot. There's like a glut of information out there about what's happening, and who knew? And kudos to Niagara Falls tourism. I have to say that I had no idea all this stuff was going on. If you look at the list of things that are going to be happening in Niagara as far as events surrounding the eclipse phenomenon on Monday, Janice Thomson, President and CEO of Niagara Falls Tourism, is going to be joining us at about 12:40 today. Fire Chief Joe Zambito about 12:20, Janice Thomson at about 12:40, and Scott Sutherland, meteorologist and science writer for the Weather Network, is going to be joining us at about 10 after 1 today. So we're going to try to cover all different nuances of this phenomenon, this event that really we think we know what to expect, but we really don't. We really have no idea. So there's the length of totality for various municipalities around Niagara. Fort Erie, it's going to be 3 minutes and 46 seconds. Grimsby, 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Niagara Falls, 3 minutes 32. St. Catharines, 3 minutes and 15. Now, that's the totality. But that doesn't mean that that's the whole length of the experience. The experience starts, Kevin, at like 2 something?
Here you go up here in Niagara,
something?
2:04 p.m.
2:04 p.m.
and ends at 4:32. So it's
All right.
actually a 2.5 hour event.
Yeah.
From the time just the partial, the tiniest little ladyfinger of an eclipse begins
Yes.
until it ends. And is that still relevant, ladyfinger? Do we still use that? Am I offending somebody?
I don't think so.
My parents used to always call it that. When it was just like a sliver of the moon?
Yeah.
It's called a ladyfinger.
Yeah. And there's still a little chocolate cookie that you can get too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the little pastry with the chocolate top on it.
So the whole thing is 2.5 hours, and I mean, you see why people are flocking to Niagara. I mean, just in our region alone, if you're in Grimsby, it's 2 minutes and 40 seconds. If you're in Fort Erie, it's 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
But keep in mind, that is totality.
Right, I know. But that's the big thrill, isn't it? That's the payoff.
Well, it is the payoff. Yeah, I mean that's the big deal. But your eyes can still be damaged if you do not have the proper eyewear on either side of that totality. It doesn't, correct? I mean, even a partial eclipse can do some damage if you're not watching what you do. So, you do have to be careful about this. So yes, Niagara Falls Fire Chief Joe Zambito is going to be clarifying some of maybe the ambiguous perceptions that we have or not have about that event.
Now, do we know what the weather is going to be? Lee?
Well,
I mean, if it's cloudy, is this all for naught?
I have a meteorologist coming on at 1:10.
Okay, so I'm hoping Scott.
I'm hoping he has some sort of perspective on that. My Environment Canada forecast says probably what everybody else's forecast says that's on their telephones is I've got partly sunny, partly cloudy, and high of about 11 degrees. It looks fairly benign. It looks fairly positive as far as being able to experience the eclipse. They are not right now, as far as I know, anybody prognosticating total cloud or rain or anything like that. It's a pretty sort of partly cloudy, partly sunny, no precipitation kind of day. So it shouldn't be completely disappointing, is my point.
So, Lee, here's a pretty interesting graphic from the Weather Network, and it shows what's happening in the rest of the country that's outside of this path of totality.
Right. Now, so I'm assuming these shots are taken what they would be at the same time.
Yeah,
right?
This is the maximum coverage that they're going to get in Whitehorse, is just 4%.
Oh, that's so.
Right.
So
Vancouver.
So the black part is the eclipse part, right? Okay.
Exactly.
Vancouver,
So
only
Vancouver,
28%.
I mean, now you see why people are flying into Niagara and coming from all corners of the world. Because hey, if you're in Vancouver,
so it's a nothing.
It's a nothing. But here you are, Ottawa, Windsor, 99%.
Regina. Hey, Regina finally has something to be proud of. They're halfway there. Winnipeg. You've heard that old line, eh? Why does Regina exist? To give Winnipeggers someone to look down on. That's a Western joke. I lived out there, so it's okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, here you can see, that's just a different way of looking at that same graphic.
Yeah, just catch this. It's like catching the edge of a storm that's going through.
But that path of totality just... So are they having these same conversations, for example, in Fredericton, in Gander? Is Gander going to be invaded again? They're going to make a musical about this one?
Yeah. I hope they're having these conversations. I'm assuming that they would be, because if they're not, they're missing something, or maybe risking something, as the case may be.
Here you see, and these are the different times right across Niagara.
As close as we are as well to Buffalo in Western New York, Buffalo is dead center, along with Niagara Falls, in that path of totality, and I haven't heard a lot out of U.S. media about what's going on over there.
I've heard similar numbers and similar
numbers,
forecasts.
yeah.
From the other side.
They're planning in Western New York for the same kind of influx of people.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. It's good. There.
The Umbra and the Penumbra.
And Penumbra. Well, we'll have to ask Scotty about that too.
The Contact, first, second, third, fourth. This is like a little bibliography. Shadow bands.
To be
Bailey's beads. You got to be an expert here. You know what? I'm just going to reach out to Chief Joe here.
Oh, good. We got him? Okay, cool.
No, we don't have him yet. So,
all right. Bailey's beads. About a minute and a half before totality begins, almost the entire disk of the sun will be covered by the moon, but several bright points of light will be visible just along the limb of the moon. All these technical terms. These points of light are called Bailey's beads and are named for astronomer Francis Bailey, who first described them. Well, good for you, Francis Bailey. And just to let you know, the reason that we read these things that are very obvious to you on the screen as you read them is the fact that we do podcasts. We do an audio version of this show. So we take the audio that we do from this show, and it does appear through podcast avenues and platforms around the world. So people know exactly what we're talking about. I do read these things. So there isn't just a gap in what people are listening to. Diamond ring, here's another term. In the seconds just before totality, with only one Bailey's bead remaining, and the white glow of the corona, as you can see there, becoming visible around the moon, we will see the diamond ring. And you see what that means? You've got that ring, and you've got that shiny, that glowing, wonderful spot, which would be the diamond, obviously, on the top of the diamond ring. That is so neat.
And the corona, I think, is just
it's a rim.
It's the little ring, okay.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, some of that light still bends and bleeds around the moon.
Yeah. The corona, I think, is just the whole rim.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. I don't know a lot, but I know a little bit about.
And an awful beer. Oh, there you go. There's the corona.
Hey, not if you're in Mexico with a lime in it. It's okay. Now, during totality, observers can look up without eye protection to see the corona, the sun's outer atmosphere, shining as a wispy white glow around the moon. Now, what is it? Wait a minute now. What is this? What are they saying? During totality, observers can look up without eye protection.
Yeah, what's this? I haven't heard this.
What does that mean? We've been told to not look up at all.
I know, and this is straight from the Weather Network. This is from the Weather Network.
Okay, please remind me to bring this up with Scott when we have him on at like 10 after 1 today. During totality, just to repeat, during totality, observers can look up without eye protection to see the corona, the sun's outer atmosphere, shining as a wispy white glow around the moon. I don't understand. I'm sorry, I'm without speech. I don't get that.
Well, that goes against everything we've ever been
viewing the corona
told,
is
right?
always awe-inspiring. This year we may be in for an even better treat. In 2017, the eclipse occurred when the sun was just a few years from the lowest point in its 11-year cycle of activity. Now, we are just months away from the sun being at the peak of its cycle. As such, we are seeing a lot more solar activity, sunspots, solar flares, and the like. Thus, the corona may be even brighter than it was in the last eclipse, and we could even see some added bonuses when the moon completely covers the sun. But I'm still perplexed, Kevin, by that one statement.
Yeah, me as well. We'll have to
And
ask Scott.
I can almost guarantee that Scott's watching this right now. I'd be surprised if he wasn't, because he prepares well for his pieces, whatever he does, and this show he's been on before. So I'm pretty sure he's probably watching this, and so I don't get that. I don't know. Like, how do you look at the corona without looking at the whole thing? That's an impossibility.
I was always told that this was the worst time to look at the sun.
Yes, because you can. The rays are still getting through.
That's what I thought. It's like,
but you
bends
can't,
around the sun,
but
and
you don't
hits us.
squint.
Yeah, this is counterintuitive to everything I've ever known. Now, is the sun any more dangerous during an eclipse, or is it just that Always looking at the sun is a bad idea.
Always looking at the sun is a bad idea, but you can't for very long.
Right, we just never do it.
No, because you can't.
Right.
But here you can, but the damaging rays, as I understand it, are still being generated.
They must not be. I mean, they don't give you...
I've heard people say that your eyeballs can boil. I've literally seen that. I'm not making that up, that word up. People said your eyeballs can boil in their sockets. Now, is that an exaggeration? I'm really looking forward to having this chat with Scott. He's got some splaining to do. Lucy, you got some splaining to do.
I'm still not going to do it. I'm not going to encourage my kids to look at it without the glasses.
No.
You're like, no, you wear those glasses.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you paid good dollars and cents for those glasses.
I know. Now I'm concerned whether or not it's, ISO certified or whatever the proper certification is you're supposed to have. I don't know. I look at the sun now with them tested out. My eyes aren't boiling.
Yeah. Okay, prominence. Now, when the sun is very active, we often see immense arcs of solar material extend out from the sun's surface. We know this, like solar flares and all the rest of it. These are often referred to as coronal loops, and they occasionally get launched away from the sun during a solar flare. Okay, well, that's something normal. But again, we don't stare at that stuff because we can't see it with the naked eye. Nor do you want to see it with the naked eye because it hurts to see it.
Yeah, now here's the region of Niagara weighing in with their eye safety protocol. It's pretty interesting.
Okay, let's have a look. It is very dangerous to look directly at the sun at any time. Okay, we figured that one out. But during an eclipse, the temptation to have a quick glance can be very strong. Oh, I know. I just want to, me too. To avoid damage your retinas when viewing the solar eclipse, scroll me down, Kev. Do not view the eclipse at all or use a proper method of blocking the sun's dangerous rays while viewing. Use a filter that blocks all dangerous light. To do this, you must use ISO certified eclipse glasses from a reputable vendor that meet the ISO 12312-2 International Safety Standard. The manufacturer's name and address must be printed on the product. Do not use any viewer if it has scratched or wrinkled lenses. There are no pain sensors in your retinas. Now that's very interesting. There are no pain sensors in your retinas to tell you that your eyes are being damaged by looking at the sun. Symptoms can take 12 to 48 hours to appear and can include retinal burns, permanent or temporary visual loss, and blurred vision. Once symptoms begin, it's usually too late to reverse any damage. Now, as good as sunglasses like this are, these are expensive, Ray-Ban polarized glasses. These are not good enough. These are not good enough. They're great sunglasses for preventing glare and being able for your eyes to function out in the summer or in the sun, in the snow, etc. But they're not good enough. These are not good enough. Okay, nice glasses, but not good enough. So, where to find solar eclipse glasses? Well, it's almost. I guess you could probably get them in a hurry. Suppliers and safe solar filters and viewers, public libraries, retailers across Niagara probably have them somewhere. Just go, and that's one of the advantages, I guess, of the internet is you can Google all kinds of this crap. Excuse me. You can Google all sorts of this worthwhile information and find just about whatever it is that you want.
Here's some good information, Lee, because I don't know that my glasses are going to have that ISO number
Me either.
on there, but I'm pretty sure they're good to go, and here's what the region has to say.
You should not be able to see anything through a safe solar filter except the sun itself. Now,
Check.
Yeah, check that box. Now, because last time we did a show, I brought a pair of glasses that we bought. My wife ordered off the internet from Amazon. They weren't as fancy as Kevin's, but the thing is, it went right along with this statement is the fact that when I put these things on, I could see nothing. It was like being absolutely blind in the middle of the night in a room with no windows and doors. That's how, couldn't see a thing. So, and that's supposed to be the case. That's supposed to be the right kind of eyewear is you can't see anything. Like if you can put on a pair of glasses or something that's dark and you can see anything through it, they're not good enough. If you're not sure if the product came from a reputable vendor, don't use it. Period. When in doubt, leave it out, as they say. Safe solar filters produce a view of the sun that is comfortably bright like the full moon. If you glance at the sun through your solar filter and find it uncomfortably bright, out of focus, or surrounded by a bright haze, do not use it. Okay, again, now we have conflicting information here, because is the bright haze surrounding the eclipse not what we're referring to as the corona? You see my dilemma. we have conflicting terms. And I know it's because I'm not scientific, but neither are most of the people looking at this program, so I think we have some interesting questions.
Well, hold on a second.
Uh-oh.
Homemade filters.
Oh, God.
Oh, here we go. Good. I'm glad they said it.
Yeah, thank you. Not recommended.
Ooh, I'm glad they went there with that one.
Homemade filters may seem like they dim the sun. That's good Chinese food, isn't it? Dim sum. To a comfortable level. Sometime you'll get that joke in the middle of the night and you'll laugh, but that does not mean they do so across the entire electromagnetic spectrum to which our eyes are sensitive. So the homemade pinhole in a box thing, probably a good idea to stay away from that. Just saying.
Well, here they actually have a section on what to avoid. And just so you know, we're lining up the fire chief right now.
Okay, here's what you would avoid. Ordinary sunglasses or even multiple pair of sunglasses. First of all, I wish people would stop using the word pairs. There is no such thing as pairs. Pair is a collective noun. You have one pair or you have 180 pair. You don't have pairs.
You don't?
No.
You can't pluralize
You can't
pairs?
have pairs. You don't pluralize pairs.
What if I had a pair of pears?
You have a pair of pairs. Well, that's a different spelling.
I know.
A pair of pears
I'm
would be
aware.
a P-A-I-R, a P-E-A-R-S. That's different. You cannot pluralize pair.
Watch me.
Gee. Okay. Natural density or polarizing filters such as those made for camera lenses, not good. Smoked glass, not good. Photographic or X-ray film, unexposed, exposed, or developed, not good. Eclipse glasses with a binocular or telescope. Potato chip bags. Who comes up with that? Oh, damn it. I've been saving potato chip bags for a year. Potato chip bags, DVDs, and any other do-it-yourself filters. Ah, yes, the redneck Eclipse filter, potato chip bags.
Oh, man. Lee, here's another graphic that I came across from the Weather Network that I thought was quite telling. I don't know if you can read that at all.
A little bit. What do we got here?
Just know that Niagara Falls is on the top. So
partial begins at about 2:05.
There you go.
Hamilton, though, is early at about 2:03.
Yeah, Hamilton is
Right?
about a minute before us.
Yeah.
Is when it begins.
Yeah, but then as far as Niagara is concerned, Niagara Falls would be...
Well, right on the top.
Yeah, right on the top. Totality begins at 3:18, runs till 3:21 or so.
Maximum
3:20.
totality, there you go, 3:21:49.
Yeah.
And then it ends at 4:30. So, I mean, this is a 2.5 hour long event.
Yeah. So, actually, all kidding aside, it is fairly important to be disciplined when it comes to how you and your family want to watch this thing, because it is a long event. So there are some things to be concerned about, obviously. Crazy. Okay.
Yeah, Lee, so we got Janice Thomson coming up in a little bit, and I'm just going to address this to Fire Chief Joe Zambito, Niagara Falls. I see he's in the Zoom room, but we need you to throw your camera on and unmute yourself, and then we'll get you on the program.
Yes,
Alrighty,
indeed.
and I think we are good to go now. Chief,
Okay.
give me a nod. Are you good to go? Yep, all right, we're good to go. All right, let's go then.
Okay. Niagara Falls Fire Chief Joe Zambito is joining us now. Chief Zambito, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. Are we coming through loud and clear for you right now?
You are.
Okay. So if you could stay as close to your microphone and camera as you can, because I don't want to miss one syllable of what you have to tell us. today. Did you ever, when you were becoming a firefighter and looking forward to your career, think that you would be in a position of having something like this to deal with in your career?
Actually, no. Never thought in a million years that I'd have to deal with or be part of a planning of a solar eclipse and something of this magnitude, for sure.
So you're kind of the point man for this, especially since the Niagara region, as an initiative out of the regional chair Jim Bradley's office, denoted a sense of or a state of emergency as a result of this upcoming event. What does that mean to the infrastructure and the resources of the Niagara region? What does this mean to you and your men and other things that happen in Niagara?
Okay, so just to be clear, it was the Niagara region that did declare a state of emergency, which, aside from each and individual municipality who also can declare states of emergencies based on their own local needs and circumstances. But in terms of the region, they decided that they have, exceeded their resources. If you could, you can imagine, our local police service and our local emergency medical services. They've, we're anticipating a large gathering, of course, with the solar eclipse, and they've requested some, neighboring services to help us out here in Niagara. And so in terms of that, that's why they felt that, they've met certain thresholds in declaring, and they did last Thursday. From a regional perspective.
Right.
From a local perspective in Niagara Falls, we haven't declared a state of emergency yet. But if the need arises, we'll make that determination as Monday gets closer.
Okay. How does the declaration of a state of emergency for the region of Niagara impact you and your role in this?
Well, when we're talking about a single-tiered government or like we are here in Niagara Falls in a two-tiered, the services do overlap, right? If there's a traffic impact in Niagara region, it does affect us here in Niagara Falls and the other local area municipalities. So it does have an overarching hierarchy in terms of declaring the state of emergency. But the region is responsible for certain services on behalf of the entire region, and
Right.
and at a local level, we're more responsible for local services. So we have to approach them differently and delicately, but we can definitely appreciate the overall, the overall declaring and why the region felt it was necessary to do it.
Now, does your responsibility go beyond the Niagara Falls in any way, or is your responsibility strictly limited to the Niagara Falls municipality?
Yeah, as a fire chief in Niagara Falls, I wear another hat, which is our community emergency management coordinator, and under that, which is what we're dealing with in emergency planning, and specifically for the solar eclipse, it is for the city of Niagara Falls proper. Which is what my scope is, and taking care of not only our local residents, but also those who visit. And if you can imagine, we're just over 90,000 residents in the city of Niagara Falls, but we attract over 14 million people on an annual basis. So
Right.
part of my responsibility is to making sure that our visitors are safe as well.
What, if any, unique preparations have you and your team made around this event?
Oh, we've made a lot. We've been talking about the solar eclipse for over a year now in preparation. We've learned from our neighbors in the U.S. We've gone over to New York State, and we're using an eclipse that happened in 2017. Things that they did well, things that they did not do well in preparation for ours. They told us to expect 9 times your largest gathering. So we're using the Walendawak as our largest gathering here in Niagara Falls,
Right.
which was approximately 130,000 people. So that's where the million people came from. That's where that number came from.
Okay.
Experts in the U.S. told us to plan in terms of emergency planning for 9 times, and that's what we've been doing for the last year.
And what does that mean for you? How do you prepare? How do you prepare for a million people? What do you do?
So we have left no stone unturned in terms of telecommunications, our cellular networks. So we've contacted TELUS and Rogers and Bell to boost the cellular network in the area. Mm-hmm. And they have brought COWS, which is an acronym for Cellular on Wheels, to boost this signal in the area. We also have prioritization of cellular network for first responders, so that way, if we're trying to utilize the cellular network, first responders will have priority in terms of that.
I didn't even know that was possible. That's interesting.
Yes. And because we do utilize cellular network, and of course we've learned over the years hosting New Year's Eve. A lot of people want to take pictures and stream family and video, and that is a huge demand on the cellular network. So we still need to have business continuity. We still need to do what we need to do in terms of emergencies. So we rely heavily on cellular network. So that was one thing. We spoke to local BIAs in terms of deliveries for food, for restaurants, the casino, making sure that they're planning to have these deliveries to their local establishments early on and don't rely on the day of the 8th or the weekend just before. We spoke with 511. Local construction companies to make sure that there's no road closures, no local construction that could, add further burden onto our local roads and our highways. So no road construction, no lane closures. We've
that brings up something that someone asked me, because there was a rumor, there's some articles or things written, because anytime there's an event like this, there are all kinds of rumors and things written that you're not quite sure are authentic or not. Are there official municipally sanctioned road closures on that day?
Yes, there are. They're down by Clifton Hill, Murray Hill, River Road. Our typical road closures for a long weekend or New Year's Eve are all in effect. And those will be manned by not only our Niagara Regional Police, but our Niagara Parks Police.
Okay.
Those are hard closures, and for a couple of reasons. Having a large number of people mixing with traffic and with vehicles is very, very dangerous, very hard to control. Mm-hmm. So those roads have been publicized through the Niagara Parks social media, and so that people know well in advance if they're coming into the area that those roads are closed.
And I'm assuming that this would help as well if there is a necessity for emergency vehicles to access these areas, because then they would have clearer access than if those roads were open to regular traffic, correct?
Absolutely, and we have designated streets for emergency services that are closed to the public to allow us to get down quicker to the area at Queen Victoria Park, where a lot of the festivities are.
Kevin, you want to weigh in here?
Chief Zambito, I had heard that the Niagara Falls Convention Center is being used as a bit of a medical outpost. Can you confirm that, or tell us what's going on there, if anything? And also, how much of what you've been doing to prepare for the eclipse is unprecedented, either for the city of Niagara Falls or you in your role?
Yeah, so we did acquire the Scotiabank Center. The reason for that location is because it is within walking distance of Queen's Victoria Park, where there's we anticipate the largest gathering in the area. And Kathy Cousins from the region, who's responsible for emergency social services, and her team, including the Red Cross, we're going to have an area at the Scotiabank that will have food and water, an area of refuge if need be, in the event that we have to prepare for the worst, that we need people to go to an area of shelter or refuge. So They will be there. We'll have medical supplies as well, and it is within walking distance of the park. So that was the key reason why we chose the Scotiabank Center.
Okay, Chief, we realize that Niagara Falls is the epicenter of this initiative. However, the totality, if you will, the path of totality and all the rest of it, and all through Niagara, is relevant to all of the municipalities, all 12 of the municipalities in Niagara. Are you in communication on a regular basis or from a preparatory perspective with other agencies and the other fire chiefs or police chiefs or whatever in Niagara region? Are you guys talking about this together?
Absolutely. Again, for over a year, we've been talking with all the 12 municipalities, the fire chiefs, and we have a special group that we've been liaising with as well with emergency services, with our local emergency medical services, Niagara Regional, Niagara Parks Police, and all the police agencies. So we've been meeting regularly, more so in the last couple of months as April the 8th becomes closer, but we have been meeting collectively and to share, where we are anticipating some issues, resources that we can utilize. And we have a very close-knit group here in the Niagara region, and we've been constantly speaking over the last year.
I empathize with the position of people like yourself that are preparing for an event like this when you kind of think you know what's going to happen, but you really don't know, because there are so many unknown factors involved in how this whole thing is going to flesh out. And I can say this a few days before it happens. I just want to say we appreciate the effort of yourself and all of your people and all of the support staff, et cetera, and those that you're working with prior to this, because this is kind of one of those things that you can't win. You're either preparing too much and it's costing the taxpayer too much, and it's much ado about nothing, and why are we spending all this money to do all this stuff for something that was like a bust or whatever. And then if you don't do it and something goes crazy, then on the other side, there's a lot of armchair quarterbacks and people at the end of the day that are saying, why didn't we prepare for this? So this is kind of a no-win situation. And we get that, but we really do appreciate your efforts.
Well, I appreciate that. And yes, I do feel that way. And we're hoping at the end of the day that all the planning and meetings and discussions that we've had and the resources we put in place, that people will be able to enjoy themselves. It is a once-in-a-lifetime, something to witness, beside a natural wonder of like Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
And we're just hoping that everybody can do it safely.
All right. Fire Chief of Niagara Falls, Joe Zambito, thanks for joining us. Good luck. I know you're going to be kind of on pins and needles till this whole thing is over, but we got your back. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care. I didn't realize how fast the time was going by here. I want to thank some great Niagara sponsors that look after this program, and they should be, as the Eclipse is, the center of your attention going forward. Gales Gas Bars Limited, our premier sponsor, our headline sponsor since almost the very, very beginning. We really do appreciate your continued headline sponsorship of this program, fueling Niagara for 50 plus years and at least for the next 50 to come. Verge Insurance Group of St. Catharines, for your home, business, auto, life insurance needs. They'll find what you need for the price you want to pay. Thank you, Verge Insurance Brokers, Mark Shirk and the gang, for looking after us. Ace Alignment, Janice Purdy and her gang, specializing in wheel alignments and other vehicular, just about anything your auto needs. Here right on North Street in St. Catharines, right behind the new police station, or the most recent, I guess not brand new now, but on North Street in St. Catharines. Thank you so much for coming on board to being a part of our family here at Niagara 411 Live with Lee Sterry, as well as wellness services. Audrey Wall, known for many, many years here in Niagara as the foot nurse, and my gosh, she is. I have an appointment next week, as a matter of fact, with Audrey. She has expanded her business. She's on Vine Street between Scott and Carlton, and for all sorts of wellness needs. Check them out. Equal Wellness Services, our most recent sponsor, and we're very excited that we'll be able to announce even a brand new addition to our sponsorship family. So stay tuned for that on Niagara 411 Live with Lee Sterry in the weeks to come. So thank you, all those people, for your support. Niagara Falls Tourism is chaired by Janice Thomson, and one of the things that I did not realize in leading up to all of these initiatives around the total eclipse of 2024 is the fact that there are events like crazy. There are so many things going on around Niagara as a result predominantly of Niagara Falls tourism. And joining us for the first time on Niagara 411 Live, and it's a pleasure to have her, is Janice Thomson. Janice, it's been a long time since you and I have had a chance to chat. How are you?
Well, I'm great, Lee. It's really, really good to be part of your show today. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. It was a number of years ago, back in another life, that you and I had the chance to chat when you were chairing the Parks Commission Board, and it's a pleasure to see you here again. Glad to have you. Well, did you ever anticipate having to put up with something like this in your career?
Well, it's interesting. The whole eclipse came to our attention about 2 years ago. A very avid astronomer called us out of the blue and said, you better put this on your radar because it's going to be big. It's going to be huge for Niagara. And here we are, less than a week away, and it is indeed going to be big. Well,
kudos to your group, because I know Niagara Falls tourism has been one of the driving forces behind the number of things that are going on. Which I had no idea of until we started doing a little bit more research into it. So let's turn it back to you. Start from ground zero here and fill us in on what you got going on.
Okay, well, first thing in the morning, actually, the city of Niagara Falls is doing their Guinness Book of World Records attempt. They're attempting to qualify for having the largest number of people dressed as suns in sunshine costumes. Okay. So that's taking place, and that'll be taking place aboard Niagara City Cruises in the morning, prior to the eclipse happening, of course. The first event that Niagara Falls Tourism has organized is the music around the eclipse itself.
Okay.
So we have the Niagara Symphony Orchestra is going to play just prior to the eclipse, to the totality of the eclipse.
Right.
They'll play, and then we'll have the total darkness period, followed by more music from the Niagara Symphony Orchestra, and that's taking place in Queen Victoria Park from the event stage that's there. And afterwards, we're having a rock concert because we're anticipating there will be people in the destination who will want to right away think, oh, I better get in my car and get on the highway. Right. And we're saying, well, no, why don't we keep some of you here in the park and come and enjoy a free live outdoor concert. It's headlined by the Glorious Sons. We have JJ Wild, we have New Friends, and we have the Boneheads. So all of that will be performed outside live on the Queen Victoria Place stage. It'll finish up just after 10 p.m.
Okay.
At which time we'll have fireworks over the falls to close off the concert portion. And then, of course, as you know, Lee, Niagara Falls is an alive destination. There's something going on all the time. Right. So all the attractions and the restaurants and the hotels, they're all going to be bustling. They'll be open, until 2 a.m. They'll be offering everything that they do on a regular basis. So there certainly is, that's our side of what we're responsible for on the day of the eclipse.
Wow.
The Niagara Parks Commission, they're putting on wonderful events as well, educational events for families. And they're having an astronaut from NASA speaking on the Sunday from the stage at Queen Victoria Place. So that's the day before. what we are noticing is that people are planning extended stays. Some are in the destination already. We met some international visitors the other day that are here already in anticipation of the event. So that they're finding the regular attractions that Niagara Falls offers, they're finding all of those. But as we get closer to the date, there are other events going on.
Amazing that this event has, for such a long time, garnered as much attention as it has. Some of us that have lived in the area for a long time, I guess it's always a danger to take your own backyard for granted. I never have. I was born in Niagara Falls, and although I lived all over the country over the last 40 years or whatever it is, I never took the natural beauty and the natural ambiance of Niagara Falls for granted, including the tourist section. I always loved Clifton Hill. I know tourist areas always get bashed for being overly commercial and all the rest of it. I personally always loved it. But an event like this really gives a municipality and a tourist destination an opportunity to shine beyond its normal glow, and I congratulate Niagara Falls Tourism for doing this. Is there any trepidation about the number of people, or I'm assuming you've got proper security, and of course with the state of emergency thing that the region has done and all the rest of it, are you ready for this?
Well, I would say yes, because Niagara Falls as a destination, we are an international iconic tourism destination. We deliver hospitality 365 days of the year. So we do have that wonderful infrastructure that supports tourism, that supports the throughput of visitors. We do expect, however, this will be an extraordinary number of visitors. We don't know the number yet. But I'd say all the professionals, they're the ones that are in place to protect us and look after public safety. And I'd say they're doing an excellent job in planning and coordinating together. So that's not in our role, but we're aware that it's being looked after.
Excellent. I need to ask you a question that's, I guess it's a little bit on the downside of this conversation, but it's something that is on the minds of some people. And I know there is a great penchant, and there has been for ages in tourism in all kinds of areas, that in high seasons prices are high and low seasons prices are low, and there's a thing called surge pricing and all of these other things that go on. But there has been the odd undercurrent of dissatisfaction from some quarters about the fact that Niagara hoteliers have taken advantage of this situation to almost price people out of the market. Have you faced that kind of criticism at all as this process unfolds?
Well, we've been following hotel rates for the last few weeks. We've been watching them, and I can say that there are still rooms available now, and that they are at rates that you wouldn't say were over the top. They're market rates for the current situation, but they're nowhere near taking advantage, I would say now. I'm looking at rates from yesterday, and they were in line with what we would expect in this time of supply and demand. It's, like ordering roses on Valentine's Day. I think they're more than they are,
Yeah, I get it. I just hope that we don't end up with, from some quarters, with a reputation for that terrible word gouging. I just don't want to hear that.
No, well, I'm with you on that. And I think our members, they've been in tourism for many, many years. They're expert at what they do, and they know how to deliver memorable experiences. And they're responding to the customer. They're responding to the market. So it's in everyone's best interest to have our best foot forward.
And agreed. And I mean, there's no question about the fact that retailers and operators, et cetera, will try to, as they say, make hay while the sun shines. I mean, that's just a given when it comes to business. I just wanted to bring it up because, it's out there. So
right.
It's kind of my job to ask those questions. So I know it's going to be a little bit tense for you, but also exciting for you and your group over the next little while. But I wish you all the best. I hope this goes really, really smoothly, because a lot of people have put a lot of effort into this, and we hope it goes well.
Thank you, Lee. And I have to say, I was just this morning looking at Canada Post. They've issued a brand new stamp. It's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah?
And it shows the path of the eclipse, and it shows Niagara Falls, and it shows the East Coast, and it shows the path of the eclipse. And it really makes you proud. It's very tiny, tiny print on the stamp, but to read the words Niagara Falls. So that's a permanent, lasting legacy of the event.
Good for Canada Post and good for us, and good for you. Thanks for being here, Janice. We appreciate your time and all the effort, and good luck to you and your crew.
Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Well, there we go, Kev. It's a big deal. We were told, I remember when we talked with Scott Sutherland, who's going to be joining us in about 10 minutes, he warned us. He warned us when we had him on. I think we were talking about some sort of meteor shower or something we were watching, and he said, oh, by the way, be ready for April 2024, because it's going to be big down there because he's in Toronto, Hamilton area. It's going to be big down there. Well, it sure is. Okay.
I can remember the first time that Chief Zambito brought it up, and it had to be about a year ago.
Yeah.
And at first, I think like most of us, I don't want to say you scoffed at it, but you're like, okay, there's an eclipse. Well,
it's an eclipse.
What's the big deal? And he says, well, listen, we've been talking to our partners down in the States that were in this path of totality in 2017, and they were inundated.
Right.
So that's where that number came from. I mean, the people that already lived it said expect 9 times as many people as you've ever come.
As Chief Zambito said, and when an astronomer friend of his warned him, said, hey, this is an event. Don't undersell this thing. And I guess we haven't. And it's good to be prepared. Normally, Kevin and I spend quite a bit of time on weekly posts and events and things that have been happening in Niagara. This is a unique time in the fact that we're spending a lot of time on one event, but it's worthy of it. But this is a vehicle that we're looking for. This is a vehicle involved in a death in Niagara. That is an Audi Q7 or something, I believe it is, with Audi Q7 with a black optic package. In other words, it's a white car with black trim and black accoutrement, as they say. And a fatal shooting occurred in the Epworth Circle and St. Lawrence Avenue area of the city of Niagara Falls 2 days ago on April the 1st. 29-year-old male pronounced deceased following the shooting. Detectives continue to work diligently to identify a suspect in relation to the shooting, and that is a suspect vehicle that we showed you. Between the hours of 2 and 7 p.m. Is the time frame in question, April 1st. You are asked to review any and all video footage that you may have for dash cams or anything like that. So they're looking for anything and everything to do with that potential suspect vehicle. Kevin, we have been exposed to so much violence recently. Stabbings. There was a young man stabbed in the chest. A couple of violent attacks in Welland that we have read about lately. A couple of people found dead in a house in St. Catharines a couple of weeks ago, and that is a sad story because there are relatives involved in that homicide. Just some terrible things we're experiencing.
I think there was a garage fire that left one person dead.
Yeah.
Was there a car fire recently as well that also had somebody deceased?
We've had
stabbings and shootings. And this, I mean, to bring the conversation full circle, I mean, this car here that they're looking for, the Audi, and I'll just leave it up there.
Yeah.
If this were to happen a week later on April the 8th with 1 million people in Niagara Falls,
imagine.
How do you plan to try and even begin your investigation?
See, this is...
And I'm not suggesting that it should happen or it would just with a crush of people, but
No.
These are the complexities that Chief Zambito and all the other fire chiefs around the region are dealing with is how do I deliver the services that I'm required to deliver when we have so many outsiders?
Well, and this is the thing that you worry about, and not. And I have an expression that I mention to my wife sometimes, and friends, etc. Don't make tomorrow's problems today's. In other words, save your worry for when it's necessary. But that being, and I totally believe in that. Don't make tomorrow's problems today's problems. However, you have to think about an event like is coming up, and to use an old President George Bush line, there are evildoers out there. And as long as the people that are coming in and everybody's having a good time and enjoying themselves and their intentions are honorable and all the rest of it, we don't anticipate any problems. But there are goons, there are hooligans, and they walk among us. And we just hope that they have a very low profile over the next week or so. Just because they're out there.
No, it's a crazy position that Chief Zambito's in, because you prepare for all the what ifs, and then you hope at the end of the day that you never have to implement any of your planning. You know, you plan and plan and plan for years.
Well, this is kind of what I was,
and then hopefully nothing happens.
This is kind of what I was trying to get at when I was talking to him, is the fact that they're in a no-win situation. People are either going to accuse you of over-planning or under-planning. And you hope that it's over-planned. I think, because I would rather have those resources available and not have to use them, rather than to need them and not have them, if I'm making sense. So there we are. There's our set at the lovely Fiddler's Poorhouse at 149 St. Paul Street in St. Catharines. Your illustrious executive producer, Kevin Jack, there with a little royal wave. Hello, 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 hello. That is c'est moi, and the lovely place where we'll be having a wonderful lunch in about half an hour.
Not everybody gets to see the whole bar. You know, some people have asked me, like, where do you broadcast that from? Is that a restaurant? It's a bar? I'm like, well, it's kind of both. It's
and what does that extravagant scene look like? Well, that's about as extravagant as it gets. And while we're saying that, I want to mention that we are streamed courtesy of Kevin's company, WeeStreem. Canada's premier streaming service, and they make the difficult look easy. This is a world-class television show, my friends. You can put it up against anything that CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or anybody does, and our quality is as good, if not better. We're consistent. We have whatever it is that is required from any live television show, streaming program, podcast, you name it. This is the best of the best, and I'm very, very proud to be able to say that I host one of its programs. And Kevin, it's been a pleasure to work with you in these 5+ seasons here of Niagara 411 Live with Lee Sterry. I just want to put a feather in the cap of this show, not in my own necessarily, but of this show. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we did a program, March the 20th, as a matter of fact. And it was a wonderful show. We had some big stories, some sensitive stories, some emotional stories, and all Niagara-based and supported by our sponsors, as you've already seen and are across the top of your screen, and Gales, our premier sponsor. Over the course of the last 2 weeks, not just the original broadcast, but also the In Case You Missed It streams that were posted through Niagara 411, we reached with that one program well over 100,000 people.
Yeah, reach over 100,000 people with one program alone.
About 50,000 actual views and a reach of over 100,000 people for one 1.5 hour program that we do in Niagara. So we're very proud of that. And every now and then you have to blow your own horn and say, hey, I think we're doing okay. Yep. And kudos to you, Kevin, for coming up with this idea in the first place.
And we also know our lane. I mean, we service a niche here in the broadcasting market. And when you get to like giant, big broadcasts, you want to do the Oscars, that's not us. That's not WeeStream. And for example, Lee, you and I bandied about the idea of doing a live stream on Monday.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that too.
And you saw there on Niagara Parks is hosting a free live stream.
Yeah.
So Niagara Parks is already there and doing a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Also for us, there was the complication of if we wanted to go to Table Rock, and then what was the cell service going to be like with the crush of 1 million people? And trust me, everything that Chief Zambito was talking about is a reality. Speaking to somebody that's in the live streaming game, all of a sudden 5,000 people walk into a very confined space. There's no cell service. Like, forget it. It drops. Like, it literally goes to nothing.
And believe me, if Kevin and I thought that this program could bring something unique to the party, we'd be all over it like white on rice, as they used to say.
Absolutely.
But we actually collectively believe that it's pretty well covered.
Yeah, I think other people will be doing it better. And for example, the Weather Network.
Yeah.
The Weather Network right here. Don't miss our live stream during the April 8th solar eclipse.
Right.
And then they have it right there. So the Weather Network, and of course, I use that as a segue.
Wonderfully done, I might add. To introduce a friend of the program and a personal friend of mine, Scott Sutherland is a meteorologist and a science writer with the Weather Network. Scott, hey, welcome to the program. Thanks for coming on short notice, as you always do. Appreciate it. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Doing good, Lee. How are you?
I'm great. And
Excellent.
I mentioned, I don't know if you've been watching the program or not, but I mentioned earlier that you warned us about this, maybe as much as a year ago, that we better be ready for this because it's going to be big.
Yeah. Yep.
And it is. You were right. I have to ask you something right off the bat before I forget, because
Sure.
I have a lot to ask you. We were on the Weather Network site here a little while ago. Were you watching the program at all?
I didn't catch it. I was busy in a meeting, unfortunately.
Okay, no, that's okay. No expectations, except there was one segment of a paragraph that was on the Weather Network site on the internet that mentioned, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but it mentioned that the corona. Are you trying to look it up, Kevin?
Yeah, absolutely.
He's going to find it for me. Then I'm going to read it to you, so I don't make any. I
got to scroll pretty far here.
Yeah. But it mentioned the fact that the corona, like the ring, could be viewed without eyewear.
Yes.
Okay. Now we have been told, like, till the cows come home, don't look up, don't look at it, don't look at it, don't see it, don't look. How do? I'm confused. How do you, okay, there it is. During totality, here it is. During totality, observers can look up without eye protection to see the corona, the sun's outer atmosphere shining as a wispy white glow around the moon. How do we put these two things together?
Okay, so the reason why there's so much emphasis on don't look at the eclipse without eye protection is because most people, 90% of people who see a solar eclipse will not see totality. So the emphasis is always on make the safety message as widespread as possible, that please don't try to look at the eclipse, the partial eclipse, or the time leading up to totality or afterwards. Always have your eye protection on when you're looking at the sun at those times. The one precise time that you can look at the sun and the moon forming the eclipse without any eye protection is right at totality. So the moon is completely covering the sun.
Okay.
That is the only time that it is safe. So in your area, that's going to be about 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But based on your exact location, you should know the exact length of totality. And there's a map in my article on the Weather Network. There's a map that shows the Niagara Peninsula.
Yeah.
Has all the major communities in the area, and shows the timing of the totality, so that you know that you once the moon completely blocks the sun, you can take your glasses off. In fact, you're encouraged to do so, because otherwise you will not see anything.
Wow.
So take off your eclipse glasses, look up, take in the corona, make sure you're timing it well, so that you know that you either look away before the sun reappears, or put your glasses back on quickly, and then keep looking when the diamond ring appears, and then
Yeah, the diamond
forth,
ring.
but,
We read about that on the Weather Network site as well.
yeah.
That's still
Yeah.
that's still kind of iffy. That's a pretty
you have to be-
that's a pretty precise time frame.
You have to be very careful. It's one of those things where if you're a little bit, hesitant, just it's okay if you don't. There'll be a lot of pictures afterwards of what it looks like, but it's just that you will miss.
Okay.
You will miss what's going on because the glasses are there to block out that intense bright sunshine, and it's of this. You're not getting that direct
So
sunshine
the concept
because the
then
moon's
is
in the way.
yeah, the concept then is, if I'm reading it correctly, is a partial eclipse. Your eyes aren't blinded by the sun, but they're still getting damaged by the sun during a partial
Yeah, I mean
eclipse.
it's like even when you just look up at the sun on any other day, just on for a second or two, because we always have that aversion. We squint and
Yeah, well,
we
you can't
look
because
away.
it's just too bright.
Right, it'll put spots before your eyes
Yeah.
just for that second or two.
Yeah.
The same thing will happen during the partial eclipse,
Right.
but there's the temptation as it gets more and more covered to
Okay.
just stare at it, and if you're doing that, you're getting a really bad dose of sunlight
Yes.
directly in your eyes, and
that's-
our pupils will expand to allow more light in as the eclipse advances, and even during totality. If you take your glasses off during totality, it's still fairly dark out, so your eyes will still be dark adapted, and that's a really bad time to miss that timing and have the sun suddenly reappear and get you in the eyes. So
it's kind of a dicey proposition. So, but
the only thing I would recommend is if you're in the path of totality, and all of Niagara is, and there's clear enough at the time, just slip them down ever so slightly and just look up a little bit. You only need to take it in for a few seconds.
yeah.
It's such an amazing sight to see the corona. You don't have to stare at it.
Okay. Thanks for
whatever,
explaining that.
But I recommend that because I saw that during the 2017 one. It's a life-changing sight. I mean, it's incredible to see it for yourself. So
Okay, well, thanks for explaining it, and I hope that all of those people that are paying attention do pay close attention to that and keep focused on what those time frames are, and especially if you've got children that may never see another one in their lifetime or whatever. You don't know. Okay, well, thanks for explaining that. I appreciate it. Okay, so
yeah, absolutely.
one of the first questions that people would love to know is what our weather is going to be like that day. Is it going to be okay?
I'm hopeful still. At the moment, the models that we use to model weather are getting much closer to having it locked down. But right now, the size of the pixels that it uses to represent the weather are still a little bit too big to give a really high resolution, Niagara Peninsula forecast.
Right.
Right now, it seems like it's like mix of sun and cloud, but it might be some high cloud, which may actually make it a little easier for people to see the eclipse. It'll just be like thin, wispy cirrus clouds. But the way the models are handling it, it's showing up as a lot of cloud over this area, and that further east from here in southern Quebec and eastern Ontario might be better for clearer skies. But there's still, it's only Wednesday. There's still several days before the eclipse for the forecast to sort of resolve itself down. We'll know better in the days ahead.
Well, it's not going to
Friday or Saturday morning.
Okay, Friday. It's not going to be a day like today anyway, where it's solid cloud and rain. So
no, we don't think that.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, let me ask Lee, because
the mix of sun and cloud seems like it might be so sort of like that, the beginning of The Simpsons. That's a broken up cloud with some clear spots in between, kind of thing. That what it may be like, or it could be like high cirrus clouds.
Scott, let me ask you, if it is a cloudy day, what will we be able to see?
If it's completely overcast, and I just that would break my heart. It will get dark. Like at the eclipse will still happen as scheduled. It's just that around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it will start to get strangely dark, and then at about 3:17 or so, 3:18, it'll seem like it's the sun is set, so that it will get very dark, and then about 3 minutes later, it will all come, go away, and
I guess
the
what I
shadow will be past us and so forth.
There can be cloud covers so thick to the point that we might not be able to see much, even
Except
with our
it'll get
glasses
dark.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
other
just
than
the
on the cloud.
darkness.
Okay,
We'll
'cause
still get the darkness, but we won't see the eclipse itself. And like even during the annular eclipse last year, it was overcast for this whole area. But I had happened to stop at a store, and I was standing in the parking lot, and I thought, oh, I'll take a look. And just through a break in the clouds, there was still cloud between me and the sun, but I could see the eclipse through the clouds. So there's that as well. Like if it's not completely thick, overcast, raining, whatever, then we still could see the eclipse, but it will be filtered by clouds. It'll actually be safer to view in those situations.
I suppose, yeah. But I mean, as we know here in Niagara, especially living in this lee of the Niagara escarpment, things have a tendency to be unpredictable when it comes to weather patterns and clouds and breezes and things.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you can experience something completely different than what an Environment Canada or a Weather Network forecast might say, just because of our little microclimate here that we live in. So partly sunny and partly cloudy to me right now is fairly optimistic, considering what our options are.
Yeah, could be. But yeah, I mean, just a couple of days ago, we thought it was going to be completely overcast.
Yeah.
And a complete bust, like across the entire U.S. Midwest, southern Ontario.
But as we know, they're like buses, wait 20 minutes and there's going to be another forecast come by. So, as you say, we're a few days out yet, so we'll see what happens. All right, now, what are... we saw that you at the Weather Network are going to be doing a presentation or a stream or whatever. How are you guys going to treat this? What are you going to do?
At the moment, I mean, if things work out that it's clear enough in the Niagara region, we'll probably be in Welland or maybe Fort Erie, because those will be the longest times of totality for the country. And we'll be streaming that view, alternating between, well, I think we'll always have, starting at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll have a view of the sun live streamed on our TV, on our app, on the website, to show everybody what the eclipse is like, so that if you're far outside the path of totality, you can have a look and see what it looks like from within the path of totality.
Now, what kind of equipment do you have to use to do that?
Our cameras have solar filters on them, so that it's the same thing as this. It's just made specifically for the camera lens.
Oh, nice to see you've got the cheapo card ones too.
Yeah, so we can pop that over top of the lens and safely record the sun. It'll filter it exactly the same way, so it'll look like an orange or dark yellowish ball with the moon taking the bite out of it. And we'll record we'll stream all the way to totality, and then we'll take the filter off, just like I said, where you can take these off right at totality to show people the corona and so forth. And then we'll put the filter back on, and we'll show the latter half of the eclipse. And then in between, at various points, it'll be myself and Mark Robinson coming into the stream, Nate Coleman out in wherever if he's going to be in New Brunswick or in Newfoundland at the time. Mm-hmm. He'll be coming in as well. We may have other parts of the stream from NASA down in the States and so forth, just to show different views of what people are seeing at different times. But we're going to try to cover the whole event, at least the meat of the event, the best parts.
Okay.
And it's going to be It's going to be pretty great. The only thing is where we're going to be situated is a little up in the air at the moment based on the clouds. So we may head down into the States, into Ohio. We may go to New York. We may go to Kingston. But that'll just depend on the cloud conditions.
Yeah, so
on the day of.
you're going to make those decisions at the last minute. You're going to be kind of like storm chasers.
Exactly. Yep. It is eclipse chasing in its the finest sense.
Yeah. Very, very interesting, very exciting. Is there, I mean, we know the science behind it. We know why this is happening. It's the movement of the planets around the sun and the whole, we get the astronomy part of it.
Right.
Is there anything scientific that we can learn from this?
Quite a bit, actually. NASA has several different initiatives that they're trying to do during the eclipse. Some of it is their own scientists. Some of it is based on citizen scientists to record what the corona looks like in as high resolution as possible, so that they can get a look at that from our perspective here on Earth. That can tell us things about what's going on in the sun's atmosphere at the time, to supplement what we see with satellites. We can also, it can also give us a bit of an insight on what's going on in Earth's upper atmosphere, to compare the two, to see, what it looks like from a satellite perspective in space compared to what we're seeing on the ground. Might give us some clues as to what's going on in the upper atmosphere. The shape of the moon specifically is along the edges, so that someplace like Toronto, that's right on the edge of totality, might see these Bailey's beads kind of filtering through the little nooks and crannies and valleys and so forth along the edge of the moon, to get, I don't know, it's just sort of an interesting thing, but there could be studies based on that.
We were reading about that on the Weather Network site, as a matter of fact, about the Bailey's beads and the diamond ring. And
the diamond ring,
very interesting.
So those are interesting. But then there's like how crickets respond when they go quiet during the eclipse.
How
birds respond. How crickets respond. How birds respond to the changing light conditions. How the weather changes, because the eclipse shadow will cause the temperature to drop by a few degrees. We've seen that in previous eclipses, where it can drop to like 3 to 4 degrees below the ambient temperature, just because the shadow is passing by.
Interesting.
And how the winds change and so forth. So there's going to be a lot of science going on during this.
I never thought about the animals, but I mean their biological clocks go as the day goes, as the general cycles go, and this upsets the cycle completely.
Yep. So
that's amazing.
That brief moment of darkness.
Yeah. Scott Sutherland, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and Lee, I think I'm going to put a bow on this, which you were just about to do. But I mean, here's the article here talking about Bailey's beads and everything you would ever want to know. And I mean, you think we're going to the source on this one. You scroll all the way to the top, and you will see that the author of said article
is Scott Sutherland. Look at that. Great work, Scott, behind the scenes and on the scenes. And I wish you happy viewing, regardless of where you are. Hope it's in Niagara. And we will most definitely have a conversation and do a post-mortem when we put this thing to bed after it's over, because I think the after conversations might even be more interesting than the before conversations.
There's a lot of uncertainty still right now. So I know I'll be writing more, at least 2 articles, just to wrap up things afterwards as to what we saw and what we experienced. But I'd be happy to come out and talk.
Thank you, my friend. Good to know you.
Just have one other safety thing.
Yeah, go.
If you're not actually interested in viewing the eclipse, but you're still driving around in the Niagara region at around between like 3:00 and 3:30 on Monday, it's probably best to just pull over and wait until the eclipse passes, just as a safety factor of. It's going to look really strange. It's going to be very distracting for anybody on the road, and just to stay extra safe, just pull over, a parking lot at the side of the road, whatever. Just wait for the eclipse to pass for those 2 to 3 minutes, at the very least, and then go upon your way, just to be safe.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate the tip. All the best. Have a good, happy eclipse, and we'll talk to you later.
Happy eclipse. Yeah, definitely. See you, Kevin.
Cheers. Yeah. interesting conversation. Once again, we thank Niagara Falls Fire Chief Joe Zambito, Janice Thomson, President and CEO of Niagara Falls Tourism, and as well as Scott Sutherland. We thank Gales Gas Bars, Virgin Insurance, ACE Alignment, Equal Wellness for supporting the program. Kevin Jack, WeeStreem, always a pleasure. Great program. To Nick at Niagara 411, we wish everybody a happy eclipse and a safe weekend and a safe April the 8th as well. Coming up, you're about to see Ray Yeager to play us off the stage. She's a Fort Erie talent, and we're going to be listening to Night Walking Blues. Thank you for being here for episode 8 of season 5, Niagara 411 Live with Lee Sterry. Stay safe, everybody.
There was a time I had life, I had my goals, but now I walk the streets at night, a broken man, an empty soul. The man, and I've paid my dues. There ain't much left, baby, but the night walking blues. I said that I've seen the man, and I've paid my dues. There ain't much left, baby, when you're singing the blues, night walking blues. Oh yeah. They say the streets all lead somewhere, so this one must end. It's a long and lonely crawl for a man without a friend. Each step I take, my heart it breaks. The man, and I paid my dues. There ain't much left, baby, but the night walking blues. Well, I said that I've seen the man, and I've paid my dues. There ain't much left, baby, when you're singing the blues, night walking